Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Thanks for presenting here to watch my talk, and we are going to start in 1 minute. Okay, thanks. I already, saw some feedback. You can hear me. Okay, I hope. Let's start. So it's my great honor to be invited to give this talk about the chemistry competitions in United States, and also how to study and prepare the competitions here. I don't know, there is some echo in my headphone, so I hope it will not bother you guys. Let me try to remove my headphone to see whether it can work. Sorry for the inconvenience. Let me try to remove my headphone to see whether it can work. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, can you still hear me? Let me try to remove my headphone to see whether it can work. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, can you still hear me? Let me try to remove my headphone to see whether it can work. Sorry for the inconvenience. Okay. It seems like I have to put my headphone back. There are too many echoes. Okay, let's just start. Okay. Oh, it's really, I can always hear the echo. So when I finish one sentence, and then after a while, it will show, it will be in my headphone. Annoying. I hope it will not bother you guys. Okay, let's just start. My name is Dr. Chen, and it's my great honor to be invited to give this talk. And this talk is planned to be around 45 minutes. And I will give the last 10 to 15 minutes for you to have some question and answering session. And if you are interested in participation, you can log in your YouTube account and to type your questions or your feedback in the live chat. So before I start to introduce myself, let's have a look at the performance of the United States team in the International Chemistry Olympiad in 2017 and 2018. The IChO, also called IChO, is the highest level of the chemistry competition in the world. So in 2017, the US team won 4 gold medals for the first time in the history. And in the 2018, I was told there was some pressure, both from the team members and also the mentors, whether we can still win 4 gold medals. And I have to slow down a little bit because the echo really bothered me. So sorry for that. And fortunately, the US team won 4 gold medals again for the second time in a row in the history. So why the US team has a better performance in the IChO recently? Make American again? Actually, American was never great in IChO. If we look back to the performance of the United States team in IChO in the past 5 years, you can clearly see the US team is a strong team, but it's not a great team. Typically, we will win, 1 gold medal and several silver medal. Who are those great teams? China, Chinese Taipei, South Korea, Russia, and so on. And they typically will win 4 gold medals, at least 3 gold medals. And actually, it's very hard to win 4 gold medals in the IChO because each year there are around 300 students in the IChO, but only 10% of the students can win the gold medal. So it's not an easy job. And if we, look closely to the students' performance of the US team in IChO in the recent 2 years, I think you can clearly see 2 trends. The first trend is the ranking of the students is getting even better, higher, and those students are getting younger. Both of these 2 factors clearly show, the US is getting stronger. And what is the reason? Why? So I will leave this question for you to think about until the end of this talk. I will answer the question from my perspective. And I'm also happy to share with you one of the 4 team members in 2018 is my student. Okay, finally, a brief introduction to me. So I worked as a classroom teacher and also the competition coach in a top public school in China before I came to United States. So I taught the college level of chemistry courses and coached the chemistry competition team. So actually, my previous school is a great school, almost in every field, except chemistry competition. It's not because we do not have the great students, but a lot of students who are great or who has the potential in chemistry, they do not realize they are potential. So when I was there, I realized and I talked with a lot of students. I encourage them to try the chemistry competition to learn more about chemistry. And then finally, those students, they got really top awards in the national level chemistry competition in China, like the top 4 students in China. It's really hard. And then I came to United States. I work in a STEM-based private high school in New Jersey until now. I realized, I have the talent, to find out who are the the candidates who had the potential, and I try to work with those students to make a team to fight for the final top goal. So a few days ago, I got a letter from the Office of Admission of MIT to share with me I was named by students. So I'm the teacher who has been especially influential in their development. So I'm really proud of this. Okay, let's move to the second part. A brief introduction of the U.S. National Chemistry Olympiad, which is in short for USNCO. So here is a roadmap of the USNCO. So each year, in March, we'll have the local exam. So the local exam is open to everyone, every student in high school in United States. So I also, show how many students are involved in this, local exam each year. So in 2017, this is the data of 2017. Around 17,000 students participate in the local exam. And the next step is the national exam. It's usually in late April. Each year, there are almost 1,000 students. And those 1,000 students are selected from the local exam. And I will talk about how those students are selected later. And then in June, we'll have the study camp. Only the top 20 students will be invited to the study camp. And finally is the IChO. The highest level is in July. So the top 4 students of the United States will be representing United States to participate, to compete in the IChO. So I have to clearly, share with you there are some limitations for both the local exam and the national exam. Oh no, it's not for the local exam. For the national exam, local exam is open for everyone. But for the national exam, first the student need to be U.S. citizens or green card holders. And another one maybe is more important for the students. So no more than 2 students per high school per local section may be nominated to take the national exam. So only 2. So which means in some public schools, and those strong public schools, big public schools, they have a lot of strong candidates, but unfortunately only the top 2 students can be nominated to take the national exam. One good thing is if the students who have previously attended the study camp, like is a study camper last year, they are automatically qualified for the national exam this year. So they do not count. I had a conversation with a strong students in a strong public school, and the conversation is like this: how can you get one of the 2 spots? I mean, there are 2 methods or 2 possible ways. The first one, you can wait until the strongest student to graduate, but probably you will not like this option. Secondly, you still wait, or you pray those stronger students advance into the study camp, and then they don't count. And the last way, also I think is the most a practical way, is you get stronger and you beat them. So next, I will briefly talk about the local and national exams. So local exam is quite straightforward. Only one part, 60 multiple choices questions. Usually they need to be done in 110 minutes. But some local section, will try to reduce the time because the students are too competitive. But in most of local sections, the test is given in 110 minutes. And for the national exam, there are 3 parts: part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 is still the same, 60 multiple choices, slightly harder, and also need to be done in a shorter time, 90 minutes. And part 2 is 8, written questions. Usually we call them free response questions. So they are based on problem solving. They are, it covers more, advanced topics. And the last part is the lab practical. Students need to finish, 2 lab work in 90 minutes. So for part 3, I would like to say it's really hard to prepare. It really depends on your, your daily experience, your accumulation. So for the selection, how students can advance into the next level. For local exam, we do have a cutoff line, and this cutoff line is not for the whole state or not for the whole country. It's for the local section. So which means each local section will their own cutoff line based on how many members they can nominate to the national exam. For example, in my local section, which is the Princeton and Trenton local section, every year we have around 20 students which can go to the national exam. And this number is proportional to the number of the ACS members in the local section. And some local sections, they are very strong. Their students are very competitive. So their cutoff line might be very high, like even higher than 50 points out of 60. And as I know, some local section, they have some extra exams, except, the standard local exam given by the ACS. So they will have a few more difficult, free response questions. So they need to combine both of these 2 parts. One part is the standard local exam from ACS. Another one is the extra test. They will have a kind of formula to combine these 2 parts and to choose the top students from the local section. And for the national exam, usually each year there are around 150 students will be selected and then give them a kind of awards. But it's not exactly 150. So the top 150 will be given the honors awards, and the top 50 will be given the high honor awards. The top 20, they still get the same high honor awards, but they are invited to attend the study camp. And the study camp is where the top 4 students are selected and also trained. And here I put several equations or formulas here to show you how those top 150, top 50, and top 20 students are selected or nominated in the national exam. They are unofficial, which means ACS never release any documents or any information like this in their website. but this is a kind of a public secret in the chemistry competition in the US NCO. If there is any change in the future, I will update you. But it seems like we already use this, formula for a lot of years. So the top 150 will only be graded for their part 1. And then we choose the top 150 students from the multiple choices. And then among the 150 students, their part 2 will be graded. And then we will use this equation, part 1 multiplied by 1.25 plus part 2. So we know part 1, there are 60 multiple choices. So if we multiply 1.25, we got 75. And part 2 is 100 points. So after we add these two parts together, the full credit for the high honor is 175 points. And then among the top 50 students, we will consider the top 3, the lab practical. So lab practical is 50 points. And after we multiply by 1/2, we got 25 points. And then we add these 3 parts together. So the full credit for those top 20 students is 200. So it's a very interesting, formula. So which means for most of the students, we just need to aim at, the national part 1. Because if you couldn't give a good enough performance in part 1, you have no chance, to show your strengths in part 2 and part 3. Okay, how hard to advance into the US NCO, I mean the national exam? First, the answer is it really varies. It's really dependent on which school and which ACS local sections you are from. And the local exam is quite similar to the AP chemistry, like the multiple choices of the AP chemistry. It covers all of the contents, but it covers more. And it's deeper and is also wider. So which parts are deeper and wider? First is the multiple steps calculation. Usually I call it complicated calculations. But those calculations are mainly based on algebra. We don't have to learn any calculus. And another part which is usually challenging for the students are descriptive chemistry. Those, all kinds of reactions. And for most of the textbook used in the United States, we do not focus on this part very much. So the last part, which is also the most challenging, is the organic chemistry. Although different local section they have different cutoff line, but I would like to say typically if a student can get 45 points out of 60 in the local exam, I can say he or she is potentially competitive in the national exam. Because recently, based on data we got recently, in the recent years, the cutoff line for the 100 top 50 in the national exam is around 42 points out of 60 in national part 1. And here I want to show you what the meaning of the complicated calculations. So this is my answer key for the 2018 National Part 2. It's just one part of that. So I just want to show you it's complicated because there are multiple steps of calculations, but it's not so complicated because you just need to have a solid background in algebra. But based on my experience in United States, a lot of students, they can understand the problem. They can, list the equation. But they have difficulty in calculating the final correct results. So they tried, but their final results is not right. So basically, it's not an easy job, to get the final correct results for a multiple step calculation. Here is a another sample work of one of my students, and I graded her sample and write down some recommendations and comments. So you can clearly see, the handwriting in National Part 2 is very important. You cannot ask the grader, to guess what you mean. And you cannot ask graders to think about what is the relationship between your first step and your second step. You need to clearly show what is the logical chain from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. And every year, the coaches, they can get a US NCO analysis, but only for part 1 of the national exam. So they divided all of the questions into 10 categories. So here is the title of each category. And in each category, there are 6 problems, 6 multiple choices. And this is a very standard test because each year, let's say number 1 to number 6 is related to stoichiometry and solutions. This is quite similar to the AP chemistry, except AP chemistry has almost no requirement in these 2 parts, descriptive chemistry and organic chemistry. So these 2 parts are not in AP chemistry, but AP chemistry has a requirement for all of the other parts. And I highlight the organic chemistry here because you can see, organic chemistry is the most challenging part because it has the lowest average performance. So I think it's time for us to summarize the characteristics of the US NCO. First, it's a very standard test, as I showed you before, and it's getting harder. This is maybe a more important information for all of you. I will show you some evidence later. And it includes 2 parts, theoretical parts, which is a major part. You can clearly see, there is 175 points for the theoretical parts. There are only 25 points for the lab practical parts, so which is a minor part. And compared to the math competition, the USNCO has relatively less students involved. I think this is a good thing because when there are less students involved, usually it's relatively easy for you to excel in the competition. Especially for those students who are strong in math competition, but not that kind of strong. Uh, Although every year, actually, the top 20 study campus, they are quite strong in math. A lot of them, advanced into the USMO. So I can say the students with a strong background in algebra are competitive in USNCO. So now I think it's time for me to answer my previous question. So what makes US stronger in IChO? So I summarized this question into two reasons. The first one is there are more and more students participated in the local exam. It increased from around 14,000 to 18,000 in 5 years. More than higher than 20% of increasement is a lot. So which means more and more students participated, more and more stronger students participated. Another reason is the number of the hard problems in the local exam. So those hard problems are evaluated by me. So each year I will do a test analysis to the local exam test paper. So I will pick up, a few questions as hard. So you can see in 2015, there are almost, no hard problems. Most of the questions are quite straightforward. If you know it, you just do it. But it changed recently. So hard problems increased a lot, and this kind of trend is still going. So we don't know the 2018, maybe it's getting even harder, or maybe it will keep the same level. But an interesting fact is the cutoff line in my local section is almost the same. There's no change. So which means the students are quite prepared for the difficult increment, and they have potential to, to meet another even stronger test. And probably this is the most two important reasons for the US team to be stronger in the IChO. More students, stronger students, harder tests, and they got better preparation. And this is also, practical in a lot of strong teams like China, like South Korea, like Russia. So I have a kind of hobby to translate some good problems from the other countries, from the other languages. So I translate a lot of questions in Russian, and also tried 1 year of the South Korea chemistry competition. So those problems are much harder than the USNCO. So their local exam is harder than our national exam. But now it's changing. We will see. Maybe in the following years, the USNCO will be as hard as those countries. So next, I would like to briefly introduce a typical roadmap or a timeline for a student to succeed in the chemistry competition, the USNCO. First, a student needs to have a solid background in algebra, and this can be done in their, 8th grade or 9th grade, or even earlier. It really depends. And then they need to have 1 year of, honest chemistry learning. Or typically, this can be done in their 9th grade or 10th grade. I prefer 9th grade. And then they need to have some professional prep class for the USNCO. It's not necessary to be, chemistry competition class. It can be a high quality AP chemistry class. What do I mean a high quality AP chemistry? Because if the class is only taught for the test, for the AP test, and we know the AP test actually not very hard. So if the class is only designed or taught for the test, I would like to say this is not a high quality enough class for the USNCO, because the USNCO is deeper and also harder. So this can be done in their 10th grade or 11th grade. And then at the same time, if they can, get some high quality and sufficient practice. So the best practice is those, released local exam and national exam problems. And then they can do some preparation on Argo, and also with some good luck, I think they can succeed in the USNCO. And this can be done in their 11th grade. It might be too late for a student, for a senior to try the USNCO. So based on my experience in preparing the students for USNCO, I summarize a few study strategies here. So first, 9th grade is really a good starting point, because I think at this moment the students are prepared in their math and they are going to learn chemistry, or maybe a few of them they already learned some chemistry by themselves, or they already took 1 year of honors chemistry. So for the competition, 1 year of solid chemistry learning is the prerequisite. So I say solid chemistry learning, it can be 1 year of honors chem, it can be 1 year of AP chem, it can also be, like 1 year of self-learning. But typically, learning in the classroom usually is better than self-learning. And next, USNCO has a higher requirement in the time management and self-discipline. So interest is the best teacher. Although I know, teenagers sometimes they are quite motivated by achievements. But without interest, if the students are forced to do the competition, I think it's very hard for them, to go far enough. And next is the guided independent learning. This is something I summarized by myself. Guided means, you need to get some guidance, either from a mentor or either from, some peers or from your teacher. But the mentoring cannot use to replace the independent learning. It's more important for the students to learn independently. So, it's easy to lead a horse to drink some water, but you cannot force it to drink. And another thing is practice. Practice is very important. I would like to say practice makes you perfect. So, enough high quality practice and with self, reflection is crucial for the preparation of the USNCO. The last thing, let's start. So let's choose a right textbook and take the right prep class. So what is a right textbook? I think it's supposed to be easy to read and self-study. And secondly, the end of chapter problems need to be challenging enough. For most of textbooks used in high school, those end of chapter problems, they are not hard enough for students to prepare the USNCO. So here I listed two textbooks. The first one is written by Zondels, and the second one is written by Atkins and some other authors. They are both quite good textbooks for the USNCO. A lot of students told me the Atkins one is a little bit boring for you to read. So maybe if a student is mainly dependent on self-learning, Zondel will be a better option. Here, and I also kind of quote some textbook recommendation from the other students. They did very good performance in the USNCO before. So finally is our online prep class. First, this online class aims at building a strong foundation for a student to excel in the USNCO. And it will cover 10 categories of the topics in both local exam and the national exam part 1. But my target students is not those without any chemistry background. They need to be solid with algebra and have 1 year of honors chemistry or equivalence. So for those students who are interested, I will send them a diagnostic test. So you need to pass the diagnostic test first. I think this is not only good for the students, it's also good for the teaching, because if the background of student vary too much, it's very hard to organize the class. And since it's a prep class, so which means the student need to do some self-reading. It's just like a a regular class in your school. And if it's necessary, it might be followed by on-site class, but the on-site class is only in New Jersey. Next is some details about the online class. First, I will choose the Zhangdao Chemistry, the 9th edition, as the textbook. But actually, any edition is fine. If you choose a older edition, it's okay, and it will be much cheaper. And we will have 2 hours for each week. And I planned for 20 weeks, start from middle September and ends in late February, because March is the test month. So the local exam will start in March. So different local section, they will choose different day to take the test. As I know, like the Long Island, local sections, they choose the first day of March, or the first weekends in March to hold the test for all of the students. But in a lot of other local sections, each school will host their own local exam. They will choose their own day. If you have question about the local test, the local exam, you may need to ask your AP chemistry teacher, or you can ask a chemistry teacher from your school. So this will be an online class. So the online platform is like this. We will choose Google Hangout on air with YouTube Live, just like the talk we are doing right now. But definitely, I will fix the echo issue, so we don't have to wait for a few seconds after each sentence. Make it much faster. And I will use the software which is called Google Notes, which is what I'm using right now, and working with an Apple Pencil. So which means I can highlight the important contents in the handout. I can also try to draw something something like this. And I will use the Google Classroom to organize all of the class materials, like the handout, like the mock test, like the quizzes, like the homework. Everything can be found in the Google Classroom, and all of the students will be organized in the Google Classroom. Uh, so due to the class size, the class is mainly in the lecture style, but I will try my best to make it more interactive. Like the students can type their questions when they are listening. And I'm also thinking about maybe in each month we can organize a question and answering session to see what are the questions students have after 1 month of learning. And if a student missed the live, maybe we can offer the recording, or we can send you the link about the recording video. But maybe we need to have some limitations for how many times you can watch the recording, because we really want to see the students in live, because I think with the interaction the learning results will be better. So here is the draft schedule for the 20 classes from mid-September to late February. It will cover the 10 topics, 10 category of all of the topics, and it follow the the order of the Zhongdao textbook. And the first class will be live streaming in YouTube and also available for anyone who is interested as a child. So after you watch the first class, I think you will have a good evaluation about what is the style of the class, what is the difficulty, what is the pace, whether it's a good class for you or not. And for more information about the the online class, I will share with you later by either email or by the WeChat group message. So briefly summarize the characters of my online prep class. First, I want to try to make it face to face, but this kind of face to face is not the on-site class. But I think we can try to see everyone. And we do not only do the live streaming, we will also do the recording, which means if you miss the class, you can make up it. And I would like to try to make this class as regular as a course in your school. So which means you will have the handout, you will get the problem sets, you will take several assessments, probably once per month, and I will try to give you some feedback. And the difficulty of this online class is higher than AP Chemistry and aims at the US NCO, the local exam and national Part 1. And we will emphasize on problem solving and competition chemistry. So it will not be exactly the same or the same style as your AP Chemistry. We definitely will do more practice. And I will try to show you, how to solve the problem and focus a lot in the problem solving skills. So though it's based on the framework of the US NCO, but I think it can work for any other chemistry competitions, even for the other countries' chemistry competitions, because all of those competitions, they are pretty much the same in style, pretty much the same in topics. So here I put a pre-registration link here for those parents, those students who are interested in this online class. So you can write down this link, or you can use your cell phone to scan this barcode, this QR code. So this kind of pre-registration is used for me to send you the diagnostic test paper. I hope you already get the barcode, or you already scan the link and put it into your bookmark or your favorite. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, 44 minutes, very precise. So if you have any question, you can either put your questions in the YouTube live chat, or put it in the WeChat group. And if you miss any details of this talk, I will share the slides in my website. Yeah, you can check my website. So I also, changed the website, the link of the website into a QR code. Here again, my personal email address. Please contact me if you have any more questions after this talk. So now it's your turn. I'm ready, to answer your questions if you have. So 2 ways for you to give me your question. The first way is to type your question in the live chat. Another one is, put your questions in the WeChat group. Or maybe it's because, I made this presentation, too clear. Okay, I saw some questions. Okay, I will repeat the question first, and then I will give my answer. The first question from Wu is about the textbook. So would the Atkins General Chemistry and Klein Organic be sufficient? So based on my experience, those two textbooks are definitely enough for the USNCO for both part 1 and part 2 of the national exam. But the Atkins General Chemistry, the only limitation is the end of chapter problems are not difficult enough. So which means you do have, the recent 20 years of local exam test paper and the national exam test papers. Those are a lot, but sometimes the students will finish those test papers very quickly. And they would like to try, more problems. So from this perspective, I would prefer the Zondale textbook a little bit more because the end of chapter problems are more difficult, and they are similar in style and also in difficulty as the USNCO. For organic chemistry, I didn't list the textbook here, but Klein is the most common used in this area. So it's really a good entry level textbook. It's good enough, but I have to point out if you are aiming at the study camp, especially you want to have a competitive performance in the study camp, the Klein might not be enough. But this is another story. It's beyond the scope of online class. So in short, these two textbooks are good enough. And the second question is from Kong about the date and the time of the classes. This is a good question. Actually, we didn't determine it yet. But I really need to see my available time in the new semester. But it's highly possible in the in one night, like 7:30 to 9:30 the EST time. I mean 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. And weekends probably is better than weekdays. I think it's also good for the students, to take the class in the weekend. But let's keep the flexibility. Uh, I may need to see how many students are interested and how many students can, pass the placement test. And then we can try to have a agreement to make sure most of students can take it. So the prep class for the following 6 months, starting from mid of September to end of February, is an online class. And I said, it might be followed by an on-site class, but it really depends on, the demand of the students. But, we will do the online class for the following semester. Another question is about the placement test, whether it's supervised or not. It will be supervised by yourself. So I will give you a recommend time for you to finish, and then you can submit. It will include two parts. One part is multiple choices, so you need to submit your answer by Google form. Another part is free response questions, which means you may need to scan your work into PDF and send me the PDF by email. So basically, the first part, the multiple choices, is for me to have a better understanding about what you have learned. And for the second part, the free response questions, is for me to know more about your handwriting and your writing style and your math. Okay. Let's say we have a few more minutes for you to ask a few more questions if you have. Oh, another question from Wu again. Yes, I mentioned, in order to be competitive in the USNCO, a score of 45 plus out of 60 in the local exam is desirable. Yes, it is. Let me find out. Is it a reasonable goal to aim for study camp the year after making this local exam score? Okay, so you mean if I get like 45 points out of 60 in the local exam, whether it's good enough, to advance into study camp at the same year? Am I right? This is your question, right? Okay, I would like to say 45 is probably not high enough to advance into the study camp. In the past few years, I kind of guided at least 4 students to advance into the study camp, not only from my school and also from some, other schools in the local area. Um, I think the average, results of their local exam is around 53 points. So, okay. Oh, okay. So your question is about whether 1 year is a reasonable amount of time to improve from 45 on the local exam to make the study camp. I think 1 year is a lot actually. You can do a lot in 1 year, but I cannot guarantee. It really depends. How you learn for the study camp, and what kind of guidance you can get. So it's possible, and a lot of students actually, use 1 more year to make the study camp. Taking my students this year who advanced into the US team and won a gold medal in the IChO. She made the top 150 in her sophomore year, and then used 1 more year, to make the camp in her junior year. Okay, next question is from Park. Will this class be for people who have taken AP Chemistry? I do not ask you to have the AP Chemistry background before you take the class. But if you already, took the AP Chemistry, I think it will be even better. So which means you might learn more and learn in a deeper style from this class. So the answer is yes. But you might, feel the pace sometimes is relative slow for you because, my aiming students is those without AP Chemistry. So it also depends on the quality of your AP Chemistry, as I mentioned in my talk previously. So for another question is about the cost of this class. We didn't determine yet. We will see how many students are involved. Okay, that's it. And so for the cost and the time and any more information about the online class, I will try to update you through the emails you gave to me in the pre-registration link. Okay, it's around 70 minutes. Let's stop here if you do not any more questions. And thank you so much for watching this talk. And bye bye.